Behind me is the Cupra Terramar VZe, and it is a plug-in hybrid premium segment SUV based on the same platform as Volkswagen's Tiguan e-hybrid and the Tayron, which is the 3-row version. Now, plug-in hybrids are definitely having a bit of a moment here in Australia, and the reasoning is pretty simple. Most of us drive less than 100 kilometers a day because we live around major cities, but then on the weekends, we do like to go long distance and take road trips, and that's where the petrol engine comes in. But there haven't been many premium or upper end options on the market for us. Most of the options are Chinese vehicles like GWM's Haval H6 plug-in hybrid, which is a really value offering, Geely Starray EM-i, BYD Sealion 5, Sealion 8. However, there haven't been many options from legacy, premium or luxury brands. Now, that's where the Cupra Terramar comes in. It's definitely not cheap, $77,990 before on-road costs, so probably well into the $85,000 drive-away figure for a plug-in hybrid SUV. So I thought I'd see what it's like to live with the Terramar VZe for a little while, see what the efficiency is like around town, on the highway, in all sorts of different driving situations, and then I'll give you my verdict. Is it worth going for a more premium priced European plug-in hybrid vehicle if you're cross-shopping against maybe something a little more value-driven in the market? Let's get straight into it. So there's absolutely no denying it. Cupra know how to design a car that looks really nice. It makes a statement. It's only about 4.5 meters in length, but it certainly has presence and it looks super cool up the front. I love the Cupra badge at the front there. Super aggressive daytime running lights with bright LED matrix headlights. And I have to say, another really cool premium touch is this does have a welcome and goodbye lighting signature that does a little dance. As you walk up, the triangles of the headlights illuminate from the inside out. It does a really cool light show. And it looks awesome in a car park as you're walking up to your car. And one thing Cupra always do is they add copper accents everywhere. So the 20-inch alloy wheels, they do get it. It's a super cool design as well. Looks very, very premium. They are wrapped in really good rubber. Pirelli Scorpion tires, so very decent. And I have found that even though they are 20-inch alloys, road noise and comfort on the road is actually pretty decent, but we will get back to that shortly. Interestingly, our charge port is found on the front left, so you do have to pull in front ways at EV chargers, but you do get your fuel filler on the back right, some pretty decently tinted privacy glass, and you do get roof rails as well. This looks really sick from the back with the LED lighting that goes across the entire rear. You also get the illuminated Cupra logo, and like I said, it does a really cool light display as you walk up. Looks amazing in the dark. You also get Cupra logos illuminated from the door sills. Just adds another premium touch. Again, at this price point, it's all about those little extra touches that makes it feel a bit more special to live with. What's not so special, however, is if we do come and open up the boot. Now, excuse all my stuff. Unfortunately, you don't get as much boot space in here, and you also don't get the space saver spare wheel because all of that space is eaten up by the plug-in hybrid battery. It is a pretty big battery, and that is probably one of the main reasons why you would buy this specific trim of the Terramar. However, it is important to note that it does impact practicality. You can still fold the second rows down. Just be careful when you do so because it closes with some velocity, let's just say that. But yeah, 400 liters, definitely not class leading even for the plug-in hybrid segment. Just keep that in mind. We also get our cables included here, and we do get a tire goo kit, so I guess you get that. But yeah, it would have been good to see a space saver spare wheel. And there's just random electrical componentry just kind of situated under here, which doesn't look very premium and well polished. But let's check out the interior because I think that'll be a better story. Okay, so just as it starts to rain, let's get inside real quick. So as we open up, you'll see that the entire interior is oriented towards the driver, which I really like. It does make it feel a little smaller in here than some other SUVs and a bit less open. However, as you could probably hear now, it's much quieter on the interior. Wow. This interior is a pretty nice place to be. Starting with ambient lighting. So ambient lighting, very, very cool design here on the doors, and also this status light that goes across the entire dash. It looks really, really cool because it also acts as your blind spot alert when you're indicating to change lanes, and also if you've got your hazards on, it'll flash in the front there. So yeah, very cool stuff. Technology, as expected at this price point, is quite premium. We do get a decent size infotainment system in front of us. It's very responsive and very crisp. However, I will say that I'm not a massive fan of these touch volume sliders down the bottom and these touch climate controls. They do get a little smudgy and they can be a little hard to find in the dark. We also have a whole bunch of driving data that we can look at, so we can hypermile in our plug-in hybrid Cupra, which by the way is pretty fun to do as well. This thing is crazy efficient, but we'll get back to that shortly. Of course, we do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and connectivity works flawlessly, no issues there. I also like how your Google Maps, if you are using it on Apple CarPlay, is integrated into your heads-up display, which means it can show directions as well as on your digital instrument cluster, which you do have plenty of menus to go through though, plenty of different view options, and it looks fantastic. Design, once again, really, really nice. In fact, throughout this entire interior, it feels very well put together, even just down to the clicks on these air vents. They also look super cool with the copper color there. In fact, this extends here to the door handles, even on the steering wheel here, which, by the way, super nice steering wheel. I love the perforated leather. We also get these floating satellite buttons for your start stop. And also the button with the Cupra logo is for your drive mode selector. We do get a couple of paddle shifters as well, which can also be used for regen. Coming back to the rest of the design, I really like these seats. Not only do they look cool, they also are super supportive. They have plenty of lumbar support, which is electrically adjusting, as well as plenty of adjustment, including under thigh support. So pretty much what you'd expect at this price point. Unfortunately, you only get seat heating. I definitely would expect seat heating. I would probably also expect ventilated seats at this price point. However, they are 3 stages, and we also get 3-stage steering wheel heating as well. I guess, you know, in Hungary, where this is built, it probably doesn't get too hot like here in Australia. Speaking of Hungary, actually, the new Suzuki Vitara Hybrid is also built there. Maybe that's why this is so expensive, like that car is. Coming back to the interior, we also get this soft center armrest, which has the nice ratchet mechanism, classic Volkswagen staple. We actually get a decent amount of storage space underneath. Does extend quite far. We also get a wireless charger in front of me, a couple of cup holders, and a little storage section for your coins and stuff. A couple of USB-C ports for charging your phone quickly, as well as a massive door bin. We also get a pretty decent Sennheiser sound system, which actually sounds really good in this car. And that is also helped by the soft materials up here on the dash. Unfortunately, here on the door, it is a little scratchy feeling, but it does look premium. At least it looks okay, but it doesn't feel. Oh, it's kind of soft up here, but along here it's all scratchy. Keep that in mind. It's not the most luxurious interior like you might find on some Chinese competitors. However, it still feels very premium Volkswagen. And also we have a train going past right now, and as you can hear, or you can't hear very much, this cabin is very well insulated in terms of NVH, and you do feel that on the road as well. You get a little bit of road noise from those 20-inch wheels, but wind noise doesn't exist. It's quite comfortable to drive. You do get this column mounted gear shifter, and if I do shift it into reverse, you will see we get a pretty decent quality 360 camera. However, there are Chinese brands that are doing insane quality 360 cameras now, like the GWM Tank 300 High 4, which is a plug-in hybrid off-roader and actually is about $10,000 cheaper than this car. One thing I am missing here though is a sunroof. It does feel a little dark in here, you know, apart from the little touches of copper everywhere, because that's to remind you that you're driving a Cupra, not a Volkswagen. Yeah, it is missing a sunroof. At this price, I probably would have expected it. But let's check out the rear seats. All right, so back seat space. Let's see how we do. Now, sitting behind my own driving position, actually decent amount of legroom, really decent toe room, and my legs are at a really fantastic angle. And also I can, if I pull this little lever, recline the rear seat just a little bit, which is quite nice actually. This is a very comfortable seating position, decent amounts of headroom as well. Even though this definitely isn't the highest riding SUV on the market, it still feels very spacious in the back. I do like these seats here. They also feel quite nice. And we also get this fold down center armrest, which feels nice and soft, and you get a couple of cup holders there as well. Unfortunately, materials definitely take a bit of a hit at the back. It is nice and soft for your armrest though, but yeah, it is a shame about those scratchy plastics. We do get a third zone of climate control back here, which is pretty impressive, as well as our own individual air vents, so we can angle them towards our knees if we like. And there's also a couple of USB-C ports. Of course, you can't forget you're in a Cupra because you're staring right at the back of the driver's seat, which has this massive bronze kind of V shape, which is just staring at you. Looks very interesting. And you also get a couple of touch control lights back here. They're pretty cool. At least you get them. You know what else you'll get? Good bloody deal if you use CarSauce Buy. That's right, use our teams of car brokers that go out and they punch dealers to get you the best price on your new car. So scan the QR code on screen now, or go to carsauce.com/buy. Get our guys to do it for you. So if that sounds good and you just want to see what kind of deal you can get on, say, a Cupra Terramar or any new car for that matter, make sure you go to carsauce.com/buy and stop paying bloody full price for your new cars. All right, let's get into how this thing drives. Now, the Cupra Terramar VZe actually drives pretty damn well on the road. First of all, you do get dynamic chassis control, which does change the character of the driving depending on the drive mode you select. Of course, Cupra mode and performance mode being the most hard edge, and you definitely get a lot more feedback from the road. You do definitely feel a little bit of road noise through those 20-inch alloy wheels. However, wind noise is non-existent. The steering is also fantastic on the Terramar. It's very natural, well weighted weighted without being overly heavy like we get in some of the competition, which try to make their steering feel a bit sportier than it actually is. This thing just feels right, to be honest. When you grip the steering wheel, it just goes where you want it to go. And powering the Terramar VZe, like I mentioned earlier, it is a plug-in hybrid, so you don't get a very large petrol engine if you're expecting something massive. It's only 1.5 liters, turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine. It is also connected to an electric motor, which means it does put out a total power output of 200 kilowatts, 400 newton meters of torque. With a higher state of charge, I was seeing petrol consumption around 2 liters per 100 kilometers. And then even when the battery was fully discharged, we were seeing somewhere in the mid 5 liters per 100 kilometers. So still very, very impressive efficiency. And that is kind of how this thing is oriented. It's not going to be a crazy high performance plug-in hybrid car. It still has plenty of get up and go, but it's not going to blow your socks off like some other plug-in hybrids out there. Because you've got to keep in mind, this thing is almost 2 tons curb weight. So it takes a lot of power to move this thing. And not to mention, most of that power does come from the 1.5 liter turbocharged engine, 130 kilowatts of it, with 85 kilowatts coming by way of the electric motor. Now, what powers that electric motor is a 20 kilowatt hour battery, which is actually a decent size for this car. The good thing about this as well is you do get DC fast charging, up to 50 kilowatts, which is actually pretty good. I was able to charge this thing from completely empty to 80% in around about 25 minutes, which is actually quite good. We can also charge AC up to 11 kilowatts, and the claimed electric only range is actually really good, 110 kilometers WLTP. So all of that sounds good enough on paper. However, there are a couple of things that just make me scratch my head about the way that this thing drives. First thing being the brake pedal feel. Something about the brake pedal on this car is just absolutely terrible, and it's never been an issue on any other Volkswagen that I've driven. Maybe it's something to do with the regen braking, but anyway, you have to press the brake pedal way too hard, and I've even had ABS kick in on me when just coming to a normal stop. So something to look at for Volkswagen. And on a slightly more minor note, I will say that if you're expecting a high performance plug-in hybrid, this probably isn't it. It does 0 to 100 in about 7.5 seconds. You can get a GWM Haval H6 GT PHEV, which will do 0 to 100 sub 5 seconds, and it costs way less than this car. However, this does get a good mix of driving dynamics with the dynamic chassis control, steering feel, cornering ability, and power, while also staying efficient and being a very, very solid daily driver. So let's get into my final thoughts. I need to sit down for a second and just digest and take it all in, because there's a lot to like about this car. There really is. I really like the way that it drives. It's super efficient. It does the plug-in hybrid thing really well. You can hypermile it and really squeeze every bit of range out of it. However, there are just a couple of things about the way it drives. The brake pedal feel is inexcusably bad. The safety systems, while they're really good, it does maintain way too far of a distance behind the car in front of you when using adaptive cruise control. And not to mention the price. It is certainly expensive when there are other options out there on the market for quite a bit less money. Yes, if you do want a more premium option, there's not really that much else out there. However, it is still expensive, so there's that to consider. Would I recommend the Terramar VZe? Probably not. I'd probably recommend going for the VZ or even just the base model, and you get 90% of what you get here without the issues like the brake pedal feel. But of course, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Cupra as a brand and the Terramar and just plug-in hybrids in general? I'd love to know your thoughts. Of course, hit the like button, subscribe, and if you are in the market for any new car, make sure you go to carsauce.com/buy or scan the QR code on screen now. Our dedicated teams of car brokers will get the best price possible for you, so don't go haggling at a dealership. Use our guys for that service. Ciao for now.